I can see why you said to bring some tea. What have you been doing all day?
Cookies galore.
You had said cookies. You said, I'm going to make some cookies. I want to try out some things.
Yes. So we always have a recipe that is our go-to recipe.
Yeah, black book.
The black book.
It's a black book. Is grandmother's, right? That's how it works, right? It was your grandmother's book.
Canadian
That's where you
cookbook.
Get it from.
Known around our house as the black book. So we always use that recipe.
Yeah, it's a good recipe.
It is a good recipe, and I wanted to sort of play with it to go from, crispy, chewy, cakey cookies, and I thought I'm going to go right back to the beginning. I'm not going to play with that
Of course
recipe.
you did.
So I'm going to go right back. So I went back to baker's percentages of what a drop cookie is, and
How on earth did you find that? Where did you find that piece of information?
all of those baker's percentages are out there.
Okay.
People have been baking since someone decided to grind some wheat between two rocks.
And that's what you use as your search words? Baker percentages drop cookie?
That stuff's in cookbooks. I've got cookbooks.
Okay. I know, you've got a lot of cookbooks.
So all of that is out there. So from a baker's percentage standpoint, it's easy to develop the recipe. So I started out with this one.
Okay, number one, it says half creamed.
So that is the flour, the butter, or the fat, whatever fat you want to use, and the sugar is all in equal proportions.
Okay.
So this cookie and this cookie are exactly the same. It's just in the way that I mixed the dough.
Okay.
So this one I mixed with a hand mixer,
Okay.
and you get this really thin...
So you really cream the butter?
No, not at all. It's only half creamed.
Oh, yes. How do you know what's half creamed?
Well, because the sugar isn't fully dissolved in it yet, and it's not...
Okay, I'm just asking,
You
right?
can only...
So it's just kind of mixed?
Yeah, with a hand mixer or a wooden spoon, you can only get half cream.
Okay, so it's just mixed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which gives you this really thin, chewy cookie.
Okay.
Crispy, thin, chewy.
Okay.
This is done in a stand mixer, and the butter and the sugar is creamed together really well. So again, 100%, 100%. So the flour, the fat, 1. Crispy. Mm-hmm. Very crispy.
Does it taste the same?
This one's got a little more chew to it.
But does it taste the same?
It tastes the same. And if you like that kind of cookie, right?
Apparently I needed one of these too.
Well, and what I find when you get to this percentage of butter, when the butter is the same percentage as the flour, you do get a little bit of grease on your fingers as you eat them. Not that that's a bad thing. So this next cookie, and these are also half and half brown and white sugar.
Okay. Yeah, because you had said you had experimented with that earlier.
With that, yeah, to try to get, and I kind of like that mix between. So this one,
That's apparently a small one.
butter is only 80% of the weight of the flour.
Okay, so more flour, so in theory they should be more cakey.
They should be more cakey.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see.
Can I get the other half of yours?
Sure.
Yeah. If we're going to eat all these cookies, I don't think I can eat them all.
No.
It's surprisingly still crispy.
Yeah, it is quite crispy. It's got a little more chew to it than the one that's all butter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I need to go back to that one.
I can't. I think I'll barely get through this. I've made 7 batches of cookies today.
How much of the dough did you eat?
Oh, too much. Way too much. So this one.
Actually, very similar in texture. It's just that this one's kind of like the big version of the squish
Well, yeah.
version,
So
which
this
is
one,
kinda
this one,
interesting.
this one's spread. That extra amount of butter just lets it
Yeah.
spread.
But okay.
So this one's 60% butter as the weight of the flour, and this
So
is all
in each case, you're just lowering the sugar. In this case, you've lowered the butter.
the butter each
content
time.
Each
yeah.
time. Okay, so this is even. Okay.
So there's, yeah. So you've gotten to that cakey point.
That was distinctly soft and how's that? Yeah, that soft cookie.
Yeah.
Cakey.
So from
Kinda
the
thing
difference
going on.
between 80 to 60, you've crossed that line into cakey.
So it's the 60%. That's the line. If you want to make a cake, see if I get this right.
Yep.
If you want to make a cakey cookie, you have 60% less.
No,
No.
the weight of your butter is 60% of your flour.
So it's 1 to 0.6 to 1.
Yep.
Okay.
Um,
Got it.
And when I look, I've seen these cookie recipes go down as far as 50%.
So roughly you're looking at a cup to a cup to 2/3 of a cup. Which is
No, no,
because
no, no,
2/3
no.
would be 60. Oh, yeah, that's right. Not
by
sorry.
volume. It's got to be by weight.
By volume. So 100 grams to 100 grams to 60 grams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
60 grams being the butter. Got it.
These ones, and I think I might even cut back on the sugar a little bit. I think the sugar could go back to 80% of the weight of the flour.
Is that just because you like
That's my-
a
that's
cookie
my-
that's
that's
not
my-
super sweet?
That's my personal preference.
Yeah. Did you do a series with cook?
No,
That's a different-
That's a different. So these two here, number 4 and 5, are the butter content is 70%
all-purpose flour.
all-purpose flour, a whole egg, because each of these had
Is that
one.
what that means?
Well, each of these had a whole egg in it.
Oh, okay.
So this has a whole egg plus 1 yolk. So I threw away the white on what. So I had 2 eggs. I threw
Okay.
away 1 white. This is the same, except it's bread flour.
So these are. Why add the extra yolk?
A little bit of moisture, a little bit of protein, and I'm hoping to get a cross between a cakey and a crispy, and have chewy.
So different flour
That's
types.
that's the idea. Yeah.
So you didn't make a version of this. Well, I guess you did the AP flour because
Yeah.
that's what this is.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the AP flour. Okay.
Okay. So it's
I'd say that one has a very typical, a very typical cookie, general cookie texture to it. It's kind of cakey in the middle, a little crispy on the outside.
Yeah.
It's
it's a coffee shop cookie.
yeah, it's got that kind of,
Yeah.
kind of the. Okay, so that's with the all-purpose. All right.
I can't eat that. I so want to put that in my mouth, and there's no way.
By the time you're done, you'll be nauseous.
And so this one is with bread flour. So a higher protein bread flour than all-purpose.
So it should all still taste the same, and they have all pretty much tasted the same.
I don't like that one at all. Not at all. I have just met a cookie I don't like.
Well, okay, hold on.
A cookie that I made at home.
Relative to the other cookies you don't like, but I bet if that was the only one that was there, you'd
If
have a
that
good
was-
time with
yeah.
them. They're still pretty good cookies.
Tomorrow afternoon, if that was the only cookie on the plate, I would eat it. Yeah. Yeah, not to my taste.
It kind of falls apart.
Yeah. It's crumbly. Okay, so this is a wild card. You know how you go on the internet and you read stuff? Someone said, so there's a couple of things that go on out there. Someone said, as soon as you pull your cookie out of the oven, smash it with a glass, the bottom of a glass, and crush it down. So this is cookie number 2.
Did they explain why?
Oh, it's supposed to change the texture. It's supposed to last longer. I mean, how do you need cookies to last longer? I don't know.
We have a problem with that. Okay, so this is this cookie,
Yep.
which we found to be somewhat crispy,
Yes.
squooshed.
Yep.
Okay.
Not really worth the time, I would say, to squish them.
I almost want to say it's a little less squishy, a little less crispy. Not that it's relevant,
No.
but it has a very similar.
Yeah.
It's not as crispy. So in that way, it's got a similar texture to the 60%. I think. Right? So if you're going from this one, I don't know why. There's no science. It's one sample data point,
Yeah.
maybe 2 data points. Not exactly scientific, but you know.
So I'm going to put all of these recipes up as their own videos. I'm going to give you the baker's percentages and grams and cups for those people that don't want to bother with baker's percentages.
Let us
and-
know.
And I would encourage you, I mean, people are terrified of changing baking recipes because they've always been told it's a formula, you have to follow it, you have to follow it, you have to follow it.
Don't be afraid. I know you're not afraid.
You don't have to follow it. You can play with it. I mean, this is almost half of the butter of those, and it's still a great cookie. They're both great cookies. They're just different in what you...
Well, and then you can play with the sugar for how you like,
Yeah,
and the types of way you like to sweeten it as well.
yeah. I mean, you can completely play with a baking recipe, and it's still going to work out.
So I don't encourage you to cook them all at the same time,
no.
unless you've got a lot of people. I'm not really sure what we're going to do with all of these. But yeah, in the next few weeks, try a couple different ones, see what you like. Let us know.
Leave us some feedback. So I'm now going to take some of the fat out on these chocolate chip cookies and put in some peanut butter.
Oh, I like peanut butter.
So peanut butter, chocolate chip cookie, and Nutella.
So then I'm going to ask you the question, which you may not be ready for.
Yep.
Which recipe, which ratio is most like the one from the Black Book, the one that came from your grandmother's cookbook?
This one.
Is it?
Yep.
I'm trying to remember what I could probably recite the recipe if I thought about it.
Yep. And the one in the Black
Because
Book,
it's got a cup of sugar.
but the one in the Black Book
Cup of
is
white sugar.
uses cake and pastry flour,
Oh, that's right.
which changes the dynamic again.
Because it doesn't, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, check them out. Let us know.